Oh, no. I'm going to take off my glasses so I can't see my own personal shame.
It wouldn't be you seeing the shame. It's like me reflected in the glasses. It's me seeing the shame.
That's
the glasses are like a protector from the shame, basically.
They hone in on it. They make it so clear.
They outline the shame.
They do.
Quiet.
Yes.
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 My time quiet.
Oh, my time quiet. What about this episode? Ladies and gentlemen, anyone that does not identify as such, hello and welcome to an all-new episode of YGG. My name is Sophia.
My name is Carly.
And here at this table, with our drinks that we have in front of us, this evening we are here to discuss together the third from last episode of Season 7 of Game of Thrones.
It's getting close.
Eastwatch.
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 Eastwatch. And...
That's... Eastwatcha. Eastwatch was
Eastwatch.
The seventh episode of fifth episode.
Oh boy. It was the 5th episode of the 7th season
of Game of Thrones.
And
what a red herring of a title that was, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
They really ran us around with that one,
yeah.
I would argue. Almost to a point of like, what, maybe Eastwatch got 5 minutes of screen time total.
Not much.
In this episode, and I think they just sort of were like, what are we gonna name this one? But first impressions. What were your first impressions of Eastwatch as an episode?
There were a lot of words. It was just a lot. I mean, I'm gonna say,
you should see my outline. I mean, you can see my outline. It's a lot. There were more words in this episode than I think this entire season combined.
No, I completely agree. Like, the entire season until 2 episodes ago with the dragon battle was Hark, a Raven. Like, that was literally, like, up until the dragon battle, that's pretty much what it was. And then we were kind of back to a lot of Raven action, but, like, man, you had to pay attention to this episode. If it wasn't expository talk, it was information that was real important and real fleeting to know.
And so fleeting, it was almost difficult to piece apart what was expository, what was necessary, like what were the golden kernels of information that you needed to take away from this episode, because there were so many of them and a lot of expository conversation.
I live tweet the show for Threadless every Sunday when I'm watching it, and this one was really, really hard to live tweet for, because when you weren't like glued to the screen because you were just trying to pay attention, when you're live tweeting, like there wasn't much that you could make a funny out of.
There was not a lot of funny in this episode.
No.
I mean, there was.
Which is okay. Like, I mean, it's a serious show. Like, that's fine. I'm all right with it. But, like, the point being, it was just, if you looked away for 5 seconds, you missed something. Like, Gilly kind of randomly dropped. You had to tell me about the information bomb that Gilly dropped.
Yeah, she does drop indeed a bomb.
Yes, and we'll get there. But, oh my God.
We will. And I loved this episode. In an episode where there was barely any fighting or gore of any kind, except for Randall Tarly and Dickon Tarly getting boom roasted.
Yeah, they got
by a dragon. I was still on the edge of my seat the whole time. It was all, like I said, it was like a breath of fresh air how fast-paced it was. And I've honestly, like I've said before, I've given up on timing in this show.
Because it makes no sense anymore. Like, it makes no... The way the world works is that every continent, or not every continent, every, like, little slice of land in the show, just time moves differently there.
Everybody can apparate.
Everyone can... Listen, like, teleportation is very real in this world.
Clearly,
because it must be.
It's a mechanic that they have not talked about, but it is something that... And the reason being, it's just so normal in Westeros to just pop up.
Exactly. Like, they don't need to explain it if it's like, it doesn't need explaining.
Right.
It's just life.
It's fine. And the way I see it is sort of the writers in real life, right? The writers have elected to put storytelling on top of filler, instead of like filler episodes, right? Yeah. Like the scene with Davos going to Flea Bottom. That could have been, Tyrion and Davos getting to King's Landing.
Yes.
That could have been 2 episodes by itself. And instead we got it in 5 minutes.
Well, that's like when we had Jorah and Tyrion traveling across the seas. that took like it took what, 4 episodes, 5 episodes? It took forever, and now it's like, all right, we're leaving Dragonstone, going somewhere else. 5 minutes later, we've arrived. Like, it's...
And then 5 minutes after that, we're back.
Yeah, exactly. Just there and back again.
There and back again.
Real quick.
Tale.
It's The Hobbit. If The Hobbit was done by these writers, it would have been like a 3-minute movie. 1 minute for every.
And you know, we say that film. Now, but a few seasons ago, this was a big problem with the way that the pacing worked. And the way that I sort of see it, the reason that they have started, the timing is different, is that they only have 8 episodes left to finish out the entirety of the Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
They do not have, that is not that much time. That's less than a season.
It's not a lot of time.
To finish out all of these. And they really have done a good job cutting away characters that don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the characters that are on screen all matter. There's not going to be a point in time where I get bored or where I'm like, B characters, I know they're going to die off at some point. I don't really care.
There's not going to be a repeat like Sand Snakes.
Dorne. Right, exactly. That's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
We are all these characters we have been with since almost season 1.
Yeah.
And so it feels different. It doesn't feel like Game of Thrones necessarily anymore. It doesn't
at all. And I do think that that's heavily because of the pacing and because the Hollywood kind of route they've taken.
The Hollywood aspect is really, really heavy, especially in this season.
Really heavy, yeah.
If we're looking at it from a macro perspective, overall this season, I've enjoyed it, but I still think that the earlier seasons were better.
I agree, and I mean, they had more of a feeling to them. Like, this doesn't feel like Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones didn't feel like television. Exactly. It felt like you were being taken on this, like, almost, I mean, literary on-screen journey, and this just, I mean, it doesn't, I'm saying it just feels like television sounds bad, but it's just, it seems like a show that's ramped up. It doesn't feel like something special really anymore. And it's become extremely clear that we are now past the books. I mean...
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
That's where this sort of empty... I guess it's hollow for me. I would argue that the show doesn't have the heart that it used to have.
I completely agree with you.
That's what it is. The heart of the show is gone. And I don't know if it's because they don't have George R. R. Martin writing episodes anymore.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. But it had this spark that it doesn't have anymore. And I mean, it's become like so... exposition, like pushing forward heavy.
Yes.
That it just doesn't, I don't know.
It almost feels like they're rushing, like they're crawling over each other to get to the end to tell this story. Like, why didn't we have this episode start the season?
I mean...
It's really difficult. It's hard.
Well, it is, because I would argue that the episode before this, I really enjoyed because to me that episode felt like Game of Thrones a little bit more. I mean, I'd be lying if it wasn't mainly because of the dragon battle, but like,
that's what Game of Thrones has that nothing else has.
Exactly. And I mean, I don't know. I think that, I don't know that the season should have started with where we are now, but I think that 1 or 2 more episodes, and maybe we could have gotten a little bit more time for each reunion, because a few of the, or even meeting, I mean, the Dany and Jon meeting, that was a great amount of time. That's perfect. The Sansa and Arya meeting, that was pretty good. Yeah, that was good too. Even, I mean, like, most of the meetings, first meetings and reunions have been good, but at this point, they're really speeding them up.
This episode blew through some reunions.
So quickly, like, disappointingly quickly. They didn't even show Tyrion and Jorah seeing each other for the first time. They just went straight to...
Yeah, and Tyrion and Bronn.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
No, there was nothing.
A meaningful glance that maybe didn't mean anything. Yeah. So we opened up Blackwater Rush right after the battle. Maybe a few hours, minutes.
Days.
Not positive.
Weeks. You never know.
With Game of Thrones, time doesn't matter.
It doesn't exist. It's made up.
So we start off with Jaime.
Yes.
Almost immediately. And look, as much as I love him and as glad as I am that he survived, couldn't we get a little more mystery on whether or not he made it through that?
Seriously, that's the first 5 seconds of the episode, and I was like, this could have been middle of the episode. Like, keep me hanging a little bit.
Like, wow, I spent a whole week thinking that maybe, not really, but maybe Jaime could die or have to fight for his life a little bit, and instead he just pops back up and is fine.
With very little effort. Like, they made it a very long distance from being underwater in heavy armor. I don't know if they did the thing in Pirates of the Caribbean where, like, they walked underwater impossibly with a boat over their heads, but, like...
That was proven on Mythbusters to be impossible, okay?
It could never happen. Like, it looks awesome, but it could never happen. And they basically did that, but with the armor equivalent.
Yeah, like, I mean, like I said, I'm all for moving along plot. But this just give me a little air of mystery, I guess. If Jamie is supposed to be the main character of the show, if he's supposed to be the one that we're all, like, really gonna root for at the very end of this, because that's sort of what they're gearing up toward, make me want it.
Even if he's not, tell a story. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the thing, is, like, when you just go, oh, yeah, by the way, the character we made you think about for a week, it doesn't matter. Like, he's fine.
He's fine.
Don't worry about it.
And they don't even say, like, Jamie's like, oh, thanks. Like, oh, I survived.
Like, yeah, I mean, like, tell a story. That's not how storytelling works.
No. But the scene itself, I really enjoyed.
Yes,
the
Bron was honest.
Bron. Man.
He's all of us.
Spitting the knowledge truths.
Oh, yeah, all the knowledge truths. Dropping those knowledge truths.
Knowledge truths.
Learning him some knowledge.
He's got a lot of that knowledge.
He's got a lot of that teaching and learning.
Learning some new knowledge. Basically, what I would say is I would chalk it up to adrenaline allowing Bron to carry Jamie all the way that far. I mean, he did just survive a main battle, but I guess
swam like a mile. Like, it doesn't make. I have a lot of questions.
I do
about physics and energy.
I'm with you. I'm with you a lot, but I have a lot of questions in Game of Thrones physics.
Yes.
And how that works. Because it doesn't seem that Westeros is the same. Gravity in Westeros just must be a little different.
I think it's way lighter.
So Bron saved Jaime's life. And I would say that Jaime really needs to start listening to Bron.
Yes, please.
Bron saved his life not once, but twice.
Mm-hmm.
Jaime threw that away to go charge Dany. Bron is like, what were you thinking? There was a dragon in between you and her. And Jaime's like, well, I could have ended the war. And when you see it that way, and once again, when you have adrenaline into it, fight or flight, Jaime's not a flight. He's a fighter.
No, that's true.
So it makes sense that he would have run toward that.
The dragon's mouth.
The dragon's mouth. I mean, it was totally dumb. But if you count fight or flight into that, I would almost argue that Jaime wouldn't have run.
Well, he's a soldier. Yeah, he's a soldier. He did what he was supposed to do. And I mean, I understand the logic. Like, it's one of those things where even if he had killed Dany, I mean, he would have died. But yeah, I mean, it would have
ended the war.
Well, it would have ended something. It would have ended that battle
very quickly.
Very, very quickly.
Very quickly.
But yeah.
It didn't. So basically what Bron said is dragons equal death and destruction, and you'd be best to get the hell out of Dodge.
True.
Jaime also agrees. And, to a point. I mean,
yeah.
and then he's like, and there are 3 of them.
Yeah.
I could not even imagine what would happen. And they both agree that they need to go talk to Cersei and fill Cersei in. And not before Jaime asks Bron sort of why he saved his life. To which Bron replies, and I loved this. He said that basically no one gets to kill you but me.
It was a great little buddy like
buddy like you still owe me.
That too.
I mean, it's guy love, but also Jaime is still in debt to Bron.
Yeah, that's true.
Jaime owes Bron a castle and a lot of money. So
yeah, that's true. Oh well.
Yeah.
I still like that they're friends.
Me too. And I would almost argue that their friendship might be ruined now that Bron has done some things, but that's fine. That's fine. So on the other end of the battlefield, we've got Jaime and Bron deciding that they need to head back to King's Landing.
Yeah.
Fill Cersei in on the damage that Dany can cause
with just one of her
that she's capable of causing with only one of her 3 dragons, and she, like I said, has 3. Mm-hmm. On the other side, Tyrion is surveying the battlefield, realizing sort of the gravity of the situation that he's put himself in. What do you think of his reaction?
I think in that moment he was kind of all of us. Like,
is this who we've chosen to back this?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there was. It's actually kind of nice to see Tyrion be that concerned about her, because I do feel like the fact that he's catching it. Here's what's frustrating is that she's always had somebody warning her. If you're not careful, you will become him.
You're going down that road, kid.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's really upsetting too to see Tyrion kind of floored by seeing the destruction of these dragons because of how much, and I mean, I'm a big nerd about how much Tyrion loves dragons. Like, I love that, but it is sad to see him reacting so strongly to, you know, seeing what they can do. But I mean, I'm super concerned about how concerned he is.
Me too.
And about how much she kind of ignored him during this scene.
Dany rounds up her Dothraki army, rounds up the remaining Lannister/Tarly troops and tells them that the rumors of her are false, that she's not there to maim and kill them, but instead she's there to have them bend the knee to her. Did that make any sense?
And if they don't, then she'll maim and kill them.
Oh, you know, she'll just murder them.
It's fine.
But she's not a hypocrite at all there, Dany. No.
Definitely not what the rumors say, except exactly what the rumors say.
So Randall Tarly basically says, I refuse to bend the knee to you. I have a rightful queen. Why would I open my land to an invader?
Yeah.
Tyrion is like, let's not kill him, actually.
Not a great choice.
Not a good plan.
No.
Then Dickon is like, I don't want to bend the knee either. So he and Randall are like marched over to right in front of Drogon.
Beautiful dumb boy.
Tyrion is so beautiful and dumb.
Oh my God.
Tyrion is basically begging Dany to not have this. He's like, you will kill an entire house. You do not do this. This is not how you win wars.
And he begged Tarly too. He was like,
did.
you are the last. Do not do this. I've never heard Tyrion that desperate in his voice. That freaked me out.
He was scared.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And he did. I love that he begged Tarly. He was like, what are you... He tried to appeal to Tarly's sort of lordship. He even says, let's send Tarly to the wall. And Tarly is like, I would never send a lord against their will to the wall. That goes against my code of ethics. God, hypocrite. What? This scene is full of hypocrites.
Yep.
Just chock full of them, except for maybe Tyrion, who just is sitting there like,
I am the voice of logic.
No one's listening to me. I don't know what to do.
He's literally been the voice of the audience for the past 2 episodes, just being like, get out of there, you idiot. Like, don't do this. Don't burn them alive.
No,
like,
and I think that's why I loved this episode. Is like, we've really been watching Dany. After her coming to Westeros, she really has been maiming and killing and causing I mean, she's murdered so many people.
Yeah.
And it really is clear that she still sees the world in black and white.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that that's what she and Cersei have most in common. And what's the scariest about having these 2 women as the rulers. Jon and even Sansa, I would argue, Tyrion, Davos, these characters do not see the world in black and white. They see it in its shades of gray. I would argue that Arya also sees the world in black and white.
Yeah.
She's extremely... Yeah. And these are our heroes, right? These are the characters that we've been watching. I mean, Cersei, not so much. She's a villain. But still, the fact is that so many of these characters don't have an open mind.
That's actually... Go ahead. Sorry.
No,
I completely agree, and you actually kind of hit the nail on the head with something I've been thinking, which is that there are very much, like you said, like 2 groups of heroes that or at least people that we've been following in the show. And I think you're right. I think it's the ones who see in black and white and the ones who see the world a little... Exactly. And actually, I think that becomes really clear in the... when Tyrion and Varys are talking, Varys. I can never say his name right. I don't know why.
They sort of change it in the show too, it varies.
It varies. I'm really glad you did that with me just now.
I'm not.
Yes. I've done it.
Oh, you got it, dude. You got me there.
It's interesting to me that during the talk that they have, it becomes very clear that Dany's repeating the past.
Yes.
And she's repeating exactly the past that everybody told her she was in danger of repeating.
History repeats itself.
But that's the thing, is I think the characters who see the world in black and white are repeating the past. And the ones who are seeing the world in shades of gray are the ones who are trying to forward this world and do it differently.
You just perfectly said it.
Boo.
You said it so perfectly.
Haha.
I think that is what the picture that they are painting is. Maybe on a sort of fundamental scale, like level. This is not something that they're going to tell everybody, right? This is just this is the way that these characters are. This is the 2 spheres that we have them in, is these characters that just see the world as it is, as it was, and how it should be.
Right.
And the characters that see that the world needs to change.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I completely agree.
But actually talking about the conversation that Tyrion and Varys have, to sort of continue on that was one of my favorite scenes of this episode.
Yeah, I really, this is going to sound bad, but I really paid attention to that scene.
That doesn't sound bad. I'm proud of you for that.
Because all the rest, I was like, man, they're talking a lot. There's no dragons.
Here.
A lot of speaking. I loved that scene because Varys had this look of almost PTSD on his face.
Yes.
And in his voice. I mean, that scene was incredibly concerning to see them like talking, because at first, I mean, it's just always nice to see them having conversation, but it was scary to hear what Varys was saying and how he was like, you know, I just convinced myself like it's not me doing it. Which is
he disassociated.
He that's exactly what he does. Which is not a great prognosis for the rest of this ruling.
No,
party.
Not at all. But what we've been saying, I don't think that Tyrion and Varys are going to let it stand.
I don't think so either.
And that's exactly what Varys says. You have to find a way to make her listen.
And I think if anybody can do it, Tyrion can. But
I think Jorah can. And they just took Jorah away from her. So,
oh my god, I know.
But we get Jorah back, they take him away. What I do want to say really quickly, going back to Varys' PTSD and to sort of expand on that a little bit, we cannot forget that Varys has been around the block.
Yes.
And he has seen some stuff.
He's seen it all.
If any character is saying that they are afraid for the future of their country, and it's Varys, you need to be taking that seriously.
Yeah.
He has said that he is there for the people. He is the one that is on the ground. He can see everything.
Right.
My fear is that over the course of time, his spiders are going to be turned against him. Mm-hmm. And he's going to sort of have to operate without this air of secrecy. He's going to have to not be he's not the Master of Whispers anymore, right?
Right.
But he was during the Mad King's reign. And that's why he was so front and center with this. He doesn't want to be front and center anymore, which is why he's not going to tell Dany what to do.
Oh, no. Yeah, he's definitely not.
Which is why he's telling Tyrion.
Well, I think he's also sensing he's kind of he's at the end of his run as both kind of, you know, the leader of like the Whispers.
Master of Whispers.
That's kind of coming to an end. But then remember what the Red Woman said to him.
He's gonna die.
So I think he's sensing that too. I'd just raise a glass to Varys, man.
Amen.
Like,
cheers to
seriously.
Varys. I really hope he makes it. I'm worried he's not, though, because of what Melisandre said.
Prophecies are a big deal.
Prophecy is huge in Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. Clearly, this is what we know. But yeah, and then, so the conversation between Tyrion and Varys takes a turn after Varys shows Tyrion a scroll that he got from Winterfell. Bran has a vision of the dead marching on Eastwatch by the sea. They are much closer.
Really, really close. Like, closer than I thought they were.
Yes, they're much closer than anybody expects. And as he is flying over, we see the Night's King. Mm-hmm. The Night's King looks at the raven, and Bran snaps out of his vision and says, "We need to send some ravens."
Yep.
To the Maester.
More ravens.
Because they can apparate. It's not that big of a deal. They just get there really quickly.
Exactly, yeah. They go through the time portal.
Yeah, exactly. So who gets the letters but Varys?
Of course.
And the Maesters in the Citadel.
Yes.
Before we get to that, though, let's just talk to Jamie.
Let's talk to Jamie.
Let's see what Jamie's up to. Before we get to that, though, let's chat Jamie and Cersei, because they do have a reunification of sorts. This episode went all over the place.
It was everywhere.
I'm trying to follow it by how the episode was laid out, which is why we're kind of jumping back and forth. It was a very complicated episode.
Because the episode jumped back and forth so much.
I apologize if it's really hard to follow. I have an outline.
She did a really good outline.
But it is, we've already jumped back and forth from the outline. So, anyway, in King's Landing, Jaime has finally made his way back to his lady love. And shocker, she's with child.
Whoa.
Oh, is she though?
So, okay, two things.
Yes.
She could not be. Yes. Because she's
Cersei.
A Cersei little liar lady.
She's a liar.
Or she could have a child, and, I mean, she gonna die real soon then, because the prophecy said 3 kids.
Yes.
Gold will be their crowns. Gold will be their shrouds. This kid is not
not destined.
Not destined.
No,
not in the prophecy.
Survive.
This kid's not going to survive. I think that she might actually be pregnant. She might be lying about it, but she might actually be pregnant, and she's just going to die before that anything happens with that.
I think the main reason for her pregnancy right now is to keep Jaime around, which is why I don't think that it's real. Cersei, to me, needs Jaime to exist. And maybe this is just in the books, I don't know. This is just coming from a book reader's perspective. She sees herself whole only when Jaime is, and this gets kind of graphic, inside of her. She is extremely obsessed with the fact that her twin is her other half. And he has been slipping away from her.
Yeah.
So, the idea that they could have another kid, that this one would be theirs, that they would announce it as their own child, it's appealing to Jaime because he's never had that before. Cersei never, those were never his kids.
Right.
He was never allowed to have children.
Right.
Marcella, Tommen, and Joffrey were not his children.
Right.
They were, but
not in their knowledge.
So, I almost don't think that she would lie to him. But that's book Cersei. I don't know what show Cersei is really capable of anymore because she's gone completely off the reservation.
There's no rules.
There's no rules.
No rules.
There's no rules. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't put it past her to lie about it, especially after hearing about Jaime meeting with Tyrion.
Yes. That would be my biggest fear because she knew it happened and let it happen anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Jaime also tells Cersei how boned they are, re the frickin' dragons,
that
she seems to consider just non-threat.
Which is shocking to me. Unless they make 12,000 more scorpions,
you're boned.
You're done.
You're boned. She says that they can buy sellswords with gold from the Iron Bank, and yes, you can. But Jaime's I just fought the Dothraki and the dragon, and he's just like, you're crazy. I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
so then,
girl, you nuts.
So then Cersei says, we fight and die, or we submit and die. I know my choice. A soldier should know his. And I love that line because it's her appealing to Jaime as his base person. Jaime, all he's ever known is being a soldier.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to this whole fight or flight thing, right? Jaime and Cersei know how to talk to each other. They know they are their best selves in their heads when they are together.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that if Cersei can keep Jaime, I'm nervous for what's going to happen with his character because I really do think that he's the one that is going to be the Valonqar, but I am worried that Cersei's got sort of this Black Widow vibe about her. Men that are around her die. All of them.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I kind of wish
Qyburn, and I don't know why.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't know why he's still alive, honestly. He's just so creepy.
Yeah, he really is. That should have been the prophecy. That just gold will be their crowns, gold will be their shrouds. Also, don't let men near you, because wow, that's
stay
just
away.
A death wish.
Stay away.
Stay away. Yeah, I mean, Cersei, I want to know what it's gonna take for Jaime to see.
Yes.
And I don't know maybe he finds out she's not with child. Maybe he finds out. I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna take.
Because you would have thought that it would have taken Tyrion.
That's what I was really, really hoping for, and I was really hoping that reunion would go way better than it did.
Yeah, it did not.
It didn't go great.
It did not go great. Mm-mm. But before we get to that, because we're going straight down this episode. No, it's fine, because that did happen, and we'll talk about it. My question for you is Jaime too in love with Cersei to see things properly and clearly?
I think he's too in love with Cersei to get out of this alive. I still think he will end up killing her, but I think it'll kill him in the process.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think
that's what I think.
At the end of, apparently, if we're going with the way that this episode turned things on its head with the way this season is going to end. I have no idea how this season is going to end anymore with the whole thing that Jon is doing beyond the wall. I think that when they all bring the White to King's Landing, if that ever happens, because that's sort of what is the plan right now, Cersei has no desire to meet them and talk to them. She is going to blow King's Landing to the sky. She does not care. And now maybe she has a reason to live, so she'll try and survive, but I think that Jaime is going to show up. and stop it from happening. And there's going to be some crazy steps. King's Landing is going to go sky high. Jaime's going to kill Cersei. Jaime and Cersei are going to get blown up together. Like, it's just going to be some crazy, sad, star-crossed lovers, Romeo and Juliet messed up thing.
Star-crossed lovers,
like real messed up.
Real messed up, yeah. I think that's how it's probably going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see. I mean, now I kind of hope that's how it goes.
I mean, look, I love Jaime, and I want Jaime to kill some White Walkers. He has a Valyrian steel sword. I think that he needs to get out from under Cersei's grasp and just leave her behind. My problem is I don't think that the writers are not going to give Jaime that storyline. I don't think that Jaime's ever going to go north.
You don't think so?
No. Well,
I can see.
Unless this season ends with Cersei dying. No.
I think it will.
But Jaime surviving.
Oh,
that's
a good
thing.
point.
Jaime and Cersei will probably die together.
Yes.
So, speaking of star-crossed lovers that we don't enjoy.
I know where you're going.
Dany returns to Dragonstone on Drogon. And Jon is waiting. For some reason.
Just because he's brooding.
Yeah, he's a broody guy.
He's doing his daily brood.
He does. He's just got a brood. Let him. And she interrupts rudely. She flies on Drogon and interrupts. Flies right down. And Jon and Drogon have a moment.
Why?
I don't know. I thought it was beautiful.
I'm okay. It was, and it's everything I wanted, but that doesn't mean it should happen. Like, I just don't understand why it was a thing. Like, if it would... Here's my thing, is I think that it was another way of them being like, if you don't think he's a Targaryen...
It's exactly what it was.
He's a Targaryen.
Hey. Jon Snow?
Jon, no. He's a Targaryen.
Jon Targaryen.
He's petting... Drogon knows. Drogon, he smells it.
Drogon can smell his blood.
You smell like my mother.
You're my uncle. Or whatever it is.
Who knows? I think that's why they did it. And it's like, they gave us some really beautiful close-ups of Drogon's face and stuff, which I love. He is, like, I have a weird thing with dragons where, like, I love dragons. Like, I have a weird thing where I'm like, yes. It's not a weird thing.
You're allowed to love what you love, Carly.
It's true. I could watch an hour of just close-ups of Drogon's face. I would be fine with it. But, like, it was still a really unnecessary, very long
It just
part.
took too long.
It took so long. It
would be one thing if they landed and Jon sort of put his hand out and Drogon was just like, nuzzled it.
And she was like, he likes you.
And then, but then she had to go, aren't they beautiful? They're my children. And then Jon is like, what?
She's like a crazy cat lady. But, like, not a fun one.
But like to the nth degree.
Yeah, like, she's not like, oh, yeah, a lot of cats. She's like, they speak to me.
My children. Like, exactly. Jon is like, okay, get out of here now.
Time to go. I'll write this raven letter myself.
Right, yeah. Dany asks Jon again about the whole knife in the heart thing that Davos mentioned earlier, and Jon sort of sidesteps it, but is saved, luckily, by none other than Jorah, who shows up.
The grand return.
Shows up.
Knight in shining cloak.
Yes, he looks so... God, he looks so handsome. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I think my biggest crush on this show might be Ian Glenn.
Yeah, really...
And when he and Daenerys embraced, I felt something.
I did too. For the first time.
Yeah, ever. I had not felt this before.
No.
Because I thought it was weird. In the books, it's really creepy. Like, the age difference is weird. He's really kind of creepy. He gives off a rapey vibe. I'm not into it.
No.
In the show... Not. He's hot. First of all, he's very attractive. Secondly, he's a great actor. Thirdly, he's, like, got a heart of gold.
Oh, yes.
And, man, I, like, when they, like, hugged it.
That hug,
their hands. They, like, took each other's hands. I was like, and you want me to think of her with Jon?
Yeah,
like, I'm sorry. And then he and Jon did, like, some weird thing, and I was like, Jon, you don't even stand a chance. I'm sorry, man. Like, there's not even a competition. It's Jorah.
Stop hitting on your aunt.
Stop hitting on your aunt and let Daddy have her. I'm sorry, maybe we took it too far.
No.
Maybe we took it too far. But let's be real. We all know who's going to win in the end. It's Hollywood, and the writers have already given in to the Jon and Dany ship.
I don't think he will.
Plus, I doubt Jorah will come back.
I don't think he's going to come back, but I still don't think Jon's going to win.
I don't think Jorah's going to come back alive from Beyond the Wall. Sorry, I should change what I said.
I agree with that, unfortunately. I do think Jorah's going to bite it. But I also think that while they're up there, Jon is going to learn, oh my God, like, she's my aunt. Gross.
That would be great.
That'd be great. If they still do it, then I'll be like, well, then you deserve each other. Because, wow.
I just want Jorah to be happy, and I think that he would make Dany really happy, and he would protect her, and I ship it really hard. I'm so shocked at myself.
I'm at the helm of this ship. I love it.
I am too. I'm captain of this ship, man. Okay. I got my captain's hat on. I have my telescope. And I am ready.
There are no Greyjoys in sight.
None. Who?
I don't know, because we haven't seen him in like 12 episodes.
We really haven't, though. So Jon then is able to receive the letter that Bran sends him and learns that both of his siblings, Bran and Arya, are back alive.
Yes.
It's a bummer. On the other side of the world, though, the Maesters get the other Raven.
You mean the Committee of Exposition?
I do mean the Committee.
My God.
Such a bad scene. Such a bad scene.
The worst scene.
Like, okay, so Bran has written the Maesters asking them to tell all of the lords to send their able-bodied men north to fight in the Long Night. Very smart.
Very smart. You would think
it would work.
Yeah.
Except that no one knows that the Long Night is a threat.
No.
No one. Apparently winter is coming just means nothing. Like that, no. It doesn't matter that winter is already here. The White Walkers aren't coming. No. We'll just go on through another winter. That's what they think.
It's the global warming of this world. Like, it's not happening. It totally is.
Everybody is in denial.
Science is saying it. And in this world, science is through ravens and word of mouth. But still, it's happening.
Alas, Archmaester Ebrose believes that the letter may be a trap from the evil Dragon Queen sent so that they can, like, decimate all of their troops.
Does it concern you that the Keepers of Knowledge literally know nothing?
Yes.
That's very concerning to me.
It's why Sam leaves. I mean, I'm with Sam completely on his decisions.
Screw this. So, like, this is not what I thought it was.
You guys are dumb.
This club said it was one thing, and actually it's a cult, and you guys don't do anything.
For being the smartest men in Westeros, you actually are... having all of the answers laid out in front of you...
You have no answers.
You have none. Sam walks in on them reading the letter and desperately tries to prove that what Bran's written is real. He, as in Sam, has seen and killed a White Walker.
Yeah.
But it's a ridiculous proposition, and even though Sam is as earnest as he comes, Ebrose instead asks Winterfell for more information before completing the task. So Sam sort of pushes them in the right direction. He's like, let's maybe... not, like, this is a threat, clearly.
Maybe not ignore it.
Maybe don't ignore it. And then Ebrose is like, I hear you, Tarly, I hear you. Yeah. And then Sam leaves, and you find out that he doesn't know that his father and brother are dead.
Yeah.
Which was such a bummer.
Such a bummer, and also, again, Committee of Exposition, Committee of Exposition, like, lean over and, like, nudge at the elbow, hey, he doesn't know.
I know.
Like, thank you so much for telling us in this very clear way.
Unnecessary,
and just what a shady bunch, man.
I'm glad that Sam has washed his hands of them, to be honest.
I am too. Like, they're shady and they keep things that they probably shouldn't. Like,
they do, but
from the world and from him.
I would also argue that Sam has been spending too much time with them because he sort of does the exact same thing that they do when Gilly finds a crucial piece of information about Rhaegar and Lyanna, and he doesn't listen and instead goes on a rant about steps. Literally, we find out in this episode... Gilly is reading a book by one of the Maesters and finds that one of the Maesters basically annulled Rhaegar and Elia Martell's wedding in Dorne, which means that Elia Martell had something to do with it, and got remarried.
To who, I wonder?
Oh, perhaps Lyanna Stark?
Perhaps the mother of a bastard who is not a bastard?
He's literally the legitimate heir to the Iron Throne. Jon has the most legitimate claim now to the Iron Throne.
He does, and it's like...
And he doesn't know.
It drives me crazy. He doesn't know. B, Sam, move as fast as the ravens that exceed time and all of its properties. Like, and
I don't know where Sam is going. Does he say where he was going? Did I just totally miss that? I don't think that he said where he was going. All he says was...
He's probably going north.
Yeah, I would argue that he's going back to the Wall.
I'm sure
or going to Winterfell.
I'm sure he is. Oh, God, I hope he is. But it's like, the one time where there's a huge knowledge bomb dropped, and he's like, I don't have time for this, Gilly. It's like,
every woman ever has
seriously.
had that conversation.
That was literally all of us just going, we feel
you. Been there, girl. Been
we
there.
understand.
I will say that Sam taking matters into his own hands was such a good and strong character choice for him. I love his line, I'm tired of reading about the achievements of better men, because that sums up Sam's character perfectly.
It does.
He has always been the achiever, but better men have always made it before him.
Right.
And now he's going to be the best man. There are going to be people writing about him. Maybe he will write this story, but he will be the main character, right?
Yeah.
Like, or one of them. He will be the hero.
I completely agree. I think so too. And I think of all the characters in this show, he's growing the most.
I agree.
I love it.
He Neville Longbottomed.
He did.
Without like becoming super sexy and which is great. I want one of the heroes of the show to not have the sex factor that everybody else has. It's important.
Agree.
It's really
I completely agree. Yeah, especially when you have the show so much pushing like, oh, here's two sexy characters.
They're gonna bang never be together, right? Yeah. No, and I'm really excited to see where he's gonna go. He takes Sam, he takes Gilly and little Sam, and so many scrolls. All the scrolls. Which, and I have a feeling he took the scroll that Gilly was reading, so that piece of information will come to light at some point.
God, I hope so.
But they just really, they wanted to hammer it in. They really just wanted to hammer that in this episode.
Yeah, they did.
That it's about to come out.
Yeah, they've been pushing so much. He's a Targaryen. We know. Let's do something with it.
Targaryen.
Wait, is that a theory?
You didn't hear?
No.
Yeah, R + L = J. It's actually kind of a really big deal.
I don't think that's right. That can't be real.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't sound very...
No.
Yeah. No. I mean, Jon is clearly the son of Ned and some bar wench.
Obviously. And he's gonna bang it out with Daenerys.
Yeah, because they're not related at all.
No, not at all.
No.
God.
But I guess for me, I want Jon and Sam to be reunited. I would really, I want Jon to learn that Sam healed Jorah, which I have a feeling will happen at some point. Like, they'll talk about it offhand, and then Jon will know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of bummed that Sam is not going to be a maester. But at the end of the day, and with the way this war is going and the way that things are headed in Westeros, who knows if the Citadel will even be standing at the end of this.
I mean, he could be a maester, but a new kind of maester, because that's the whole theme of this season, right? Is change, exactly. And the way that the maesters operate right now, not a thing that I don't think anybody would want to be a part of. They're so stuck in their old, like, let's sit around. There's just a bunch of old white dudes stuck in their ways.
It's true, and the only way to change that would be to completely decimate it and build it up again.
Agreed.
And that's sort of where this is heading. At the end of all of it, maybe what is the next season? 8? Season 8 or whatever, it'll happen.
I hope. I mean, we'll see.
Who knows? So, back at Dragonstone, Jon is holding council with Dany. And basically he decides that, when he gets the letter from Bran, he realizes that he needs to go home.
Yes.
Dany, however, is not ready to let all of her handsome men go yet.
Fair.
She's just like, you just got here.
Yeah, I want to look at you some more.
And fair, girl.
I understand.
But trust me, you'd be better off without them. Because where they're going, you don't want to go. And she doesn't want to leave Dragonstone in case Cersei decides to make a move. So Daenerys considers herself stuck. Tyrion instead offers a counter proposal. No more fighting. Instead, let's just actually come together and with Cersei and fight the common enemy. How, do you ask? Oh, it's simple, really. Just go past the wall at Eastwatch by the Sea, duke it out with some White Walkers, maybe the Night's King, somehow snag a prisoner of war, and bring it back all the way to King's Landing.
Totally.
And then talk with Cersei about it.
Totally fine. Should be doable.
Foolproof.
Question. Can the Whites cross the wall?
I have no idea. We haven't seen it happen yet.
Because if they can't...
Well...
The White Walkers can't.
In season 1, when Jon has to saves G.R. Mormont from a White at Castle Black, it is proven that yes, he was reanimated on the other side of the wall.
What's the point of the wall?
I don't know.
What's the point?
To house the stone dragon, Carly.
That's got to be it. I'm sorry. Like, that's the
only
way.
the wall exists is to house the stone dragon.
We've accepted this as canon. I don't know.
It is canon.
It is, yeah.
Let's also not forget that the last time that someone was sent to King's Landing to ask for more men for the Night's Watch, it was Alistair Thorne in season 1, sent with the hand of that white, and they barely sent anyone. Which is fair. So now they're going to try and bring a real white into it. But before they can do that, they have to talk to Cersei. Or talk to someone that's close to Cersei. And to do that, they have to get into King's Landing. And to do that, there's only one man for the job. And you know who that is? My grandfather, Davos Seaworth.
Oh my god.
Who finally has a plot this season.
He does, and he's comic relief. He's all of the above.
Comic relief. So Tyrion and Davos head on over to King's Landing.
They take a little trip.
They take a good old trip that would have normally taken at least 3 episodes. But this season it took 5 minutes. And one of my favorite little lines actually was, last time I was here, I killed my father with a crossbow, says Tyrion. And then last time I was here, you killed my son with wildfire, says Davos.
Oh.
Which is a very true statement and also makes you remember that they were enemies.
That's kind of beautiful and heartbreaking.
Yeah. So Tyrion goes to chat with Jaime via Bronn.
Yes.
Even though they didn't even have a conversation together. Somehow Tyrion can still contact Bronn.
Yeah, which would have been great to see.
I would have loved to see.
That was a surprise I didn't want.
Now, instead of all of the maesters talking, I would have much rather had a scene between Tyrion and Bronn and Jaime talking.
Or the 12 minutes of Drogon scales. As much as I love it, like...
Jon and Drogon having better chemistry than he and Dany do.
Yeah.
Like...
Drogon is way better than Janny.
Drogon is way better than Janny. You hear it. You heard it first here, folks.
You heard it here.
So basically, yeah, Tyrion convinces Jaime after a very long conversation that they should talk to Daenerys. That they should have a meeting with her. But I gotta say, this reunion...
Not what I wanted.
I don't think it was as lovey-dovey as anybody expected it to be. There is no brotherly bond. It's gone. Between Jaime and Tyrion.
I mean, if we're talking about if Jaime's too far gone with his love for Cersei, I think that's the answer. Like, I think this scene said it all.
Oh God, please don't make that happen. Please don't make that real. I've been saying Jaime's the one to watch. I don't want to be wrong about that. Please don't make me eat my words. Please don't make me eat my words. Please. But basically, Jaime still wants to kill Tyrion.
Yeah.
He won't even hear his younger brother out as Tyrion tries to explain everything that Daddy Tywin Lannister put him through. But Jaime isn't about it and instead asks Tyrion why he's there. And it was, for me, that was really hard to hear Tyrion sort of lay it all out there and say, our father didn't love me.
Right.
And I almost think that the best way to have done it would have been to appeal to Jaime's love of Tyrion and not Tywin's lack of love of Tyrion, because Tyrion and Jaime have always had a very beautiful and fragile relationship.
Yeah.
They've always thought about it. Like, in the books especially, anytime they're at their lowest, they're thinking of each other.
Aww.
And it's sort of, especially Tyrion. Like, he's always like, well, what would Jaime have done? Jaime would have protected me. I'll never get to see Jaime again. And it's always that kind of stuff. So to sort of watch Jaime look at his younger brother and not feel love anymore, I felt the pain that Tyrion went through.
Yeah.
Like, that was really, for me, that was hard. And, I mean, he makes his case, and he basically says that Dany will stop attacking if Cersei agrees to some special terms and conditions, right?
Yeah.
And the only reason that Jaime agrees is because he sees how strong of a foe Daenerys is. And he knows how powerful those dragons are. And in order to survive this war, meeting with Daenerys is really the only way to survive.
Right.
And to keep his bloodline alive.
No, yeah, that's...
right now he has a kid to think about.
Supposedly.
Well, he thinks that he has a kid to think about.
Yes,
so Jaime now has a completely different sort of view on life that we have to take into account.
That's true.
So in his actions throughout the rest of this season, and for however long he has a child, I'm going to be very interested to see what he does. Because now I think, unless Bronn can get to him, I'm really, really nervous for Jaime's story.
I am too.
I wish they hadn't done the child thing.
I feel more strongly about the Jaime and Tyrion scene. I really, really hope that that's not the end of them.
Well, that too. I mean, the child thing leads to the Jaime and Tyrion scene. It's all connected.
Yeah. And I do wish they hadn't done that. That seemed cheap.
But Jaime learning that Tyrion didn't kill Joffrey, like, you would have thought that would have... And that's probably why... I know. And he didn't even agree to see him. Bronn just tricked him into it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true. I mean, yeah.
I understand. I understand Jaime's anger and where he comes from, but I also really, really hope that this character that they have spent so much time building up to be a really interesting hero is not going to just fall to the wayside because of love.
Yeah. The things he does for love.
Oh, you just said it. Oh, that just made me feel so much worse.
Oh, no. Oh. I'm so sorry.
Because if we're talking about history repeating itself.
Oh, it's not looking good.
Let's switch to better gears.
Well,
what was Davos up to, Carly?
Amazing things.
He
Listen, Davos had perhaps the greatest scene that I have been personally waiting for the past... Oh my god, what, 3 seasons have I been waiting?
I think he has been gone since season 3, so 4 seasons.
And the he of which you speak is Gendry Bastard Baratheon.
Gendry Bastard Baratheon.
I cannot even begin to explain how excited I was about this scene. I screamed when it happened. Davos was like, I know where we have to go. Walked into the blacksmith maker of swords area, and I was like, we know...
The Smith. You can just say the Smith.
The Smith. He walked into Sir Smithy's.
This was in Flea Bottom, yes.
In Flea Bottom. And I was like, this can only be one person. And they had a slow turnaround.
You knew it was him from his shoulders.
You knew it was him from the broad shoulders, the delts that have just been pushing water with oars for so many years. His skin smooth with the salty sea air. And freaking Gendry is back. Gendry is back to be the hero that we all deserve.
The hero that we've needed this whole time.
The hero that we've all needed, but the best part that you did not like and I loved is Davos saying exactly what we've all thought is, oh, you're done rowing. Or
thought you'd
still be rowing. And in that moment, I swear the internet exploded.
It did.
It did.
Look, I'm all for those lines being said. I just don't want them to be Davos saying them. Like, I'm all for those lines. I think fan service is fine. It also takes me out of the world that I'm in a little bit. To me, Davos would not have said those lines. He would not have said, oh, I think you're still rowing. He literally asked Gendry, do you know how to row? This is a boy that got on that boat, went as fast as he could.
Got Hulk arms.
And we know that they communicated. He said, get back to Flea Bottom. Davos told Gendry, go back to Flea Bottom.
Which I'm so glad we didn't know. Like, I'm so glad that we were just
all the places, of course Gendry would go back.
Of course he would. Of course he freaking would. And I just love it. I love that scene so much. All of us were like...
No, this was the highlight. It all felt very like when Davos said, I have business to attend to in Flea Bottom, I was like, oh, do you? Does that perhaps mean that you're about to go get the last remaining Baratheon? House Baratheon, you guys.
House Baratheon is still around.
Oh my god, okay.
It's hanging on by one little thread.
I feel about House Baratheon.
I know.
You know how I feel.
Yes.
You know who Gendry is. He's the nephew of Stannis.
Yes.
The nephew of Stannis.
Stannis
you know
lives.
What that means. Stannis lives. Through Davos and through Gendry. Stannis is alive. I get emotional about House Baratheon.
And just Stannis mainly.
My mantis. How can I? So, what happens in this scene?
Everything I ever wanted. I'll be. Here's what happened. Okay. Here's what happened. Is Davos walks in and is like, where have you been? And Gendry's like, Flea Bottom. And then they dance out the Hamilton soundtrack, which is what that's from. Anyway, so what's very basically agreed, and the only thing that I got out of this scene besides screaming about it was that Gendry's like, I'm going back with you. Yes. Gets a giant hammer with the Baratheon sigil on it, and then they go to the boat.
Does the hammer have the sigil on it?
I cannot take credit for noticing that. That was my coworker /friend
I screamed when Gendry picked up the hammer.
I screamed when Gendry turned around.
No, because I knew he was coming. So, little known fact, probably not, but to book readers, it's not little. It's well known. Robert Baratheon in Robert's Rebellion used a warhammer as his weapon. So it's a very, very big deal that Gendry grabbed a warhammer because it's what Robert used to win Robert's Rebellion. It's his legacy.
Oh, man.
So to me, that was just calling out the fact that Gendry really does mean something.
Yeah.
So basically now Gendry has joined Davos to come back to Dragonstone and be a part of the team that goes north of the Wall to get a prisoner. Gendry and Davos get back to the boat at the shore first. And Davos does a very good job talking off the Lannister guards that are bugging them. He basically says, here's some money. And then he's like, here's some food. It makes your nads go big. It's not what it does. It makes your guy go big. Sorry. Not your nads.
All of the above.
All of the above. Maybe. I actually don't know.
Who knows?
All he says is that it pokes a hole in your chainmail. I really. So then...
Oh.
Yes.
I just interpreted that differently.
It's Viagra, Carly.
I know.
It's Westerosi Viagra is what he gives. Well, he says it. It's not really. It's just crab. And they're about to get away with it, and Tyrion walks down. And the guards are like, you look familiar. And then Gendry just, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Oh, yeah, Gendry
them with the warhammer.
Takes no prisoners. And I actually don't know if I'm using that phrase right, but he didn't take him because he killed him.
No, he took no prisoners. And Tyrion was like, nice. He basically was just like, yeah, cool.
Nodded it off.
I can dig this. I can get with this. Because he wrecked them.
Oh, yeah. With no hesitation. He was like, I'm done with this conversation.
But now, yes, let's talk about when Davos introduces Jon and Gendry.
We got to talk about how it was a throwback to the first episode of this entire show when Robert Baratheon? Yes, okay, Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark have their little friendship moment. It was a total callback to that, and it was like, oh my god. And it was the bastards meeting each other. Well, one of them isn't technically, but he doesn't know.
Neither of them really are anymore.
Neither of them are.
Once he gets pardoned, Gendry won't be, but, you know. My favorite thing was Davos was like, Gendry, don't tell anyone who you are. And Gendry literally, he's not about to live in the shadows anymore, right? He's been living in the shadows for years in Flea Bottom, being just a smith, a nameless smith that no one knows. Yeah. He marches right up to Jon and tells him that he's the last remaining Baratheon. And if these boys end up duking it out because of who their fathers are, I will cancel my HBO subscription right now.
They shouldn't, because their fathers are best friends.
No.
Whoa.
No.
Oh, wait, not the real father.
So, okay, in case you didn't know,
right.
Gendry Baratheon's father is Robert Baratheon.
Yep.
John's father is Rhaegar Targaryen.
Oh, man.
Battle of the Trident, anybody? Robert Baratheon killed Rhaegar Targaryen.
Crap.
So, I really, really, really hope that these boys, if we're talking about history repeating itself and changing what has happened, these boys need to become BFFs.
These sweet boys.
They can never fight. Gendry needs to marry Dany.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Well, Jorah needs to marry Dany.
But
you know, fine. Gendry can. That's fine too.
I'm alright with it.
And Jon can just be king in the north, and they can just rule. They can. Yeah, that's fine. But basically, yeah. So if they turn out to be right now, they're on the same team.
Yes.
Right now, they get along so much that they decide to go up north together to do some white hunting. But I'm really nervous for how that's going to play out, just in terms of we've seen history repeating itself and them not learning from the mistakes of their past and Jon not knowing who his father is.
Well, and when they do get, if it's not too early to talk about it, when they do get back to the wall, you have that little scuffle between Jorah, who's a Mormont, and
Thoros of Myr.
No,
Tormund,
that's right. Yeah, because the wildlings.
Yes,
so that's not a great.
There's a lot in the group that is going beyond the wall right now. There's a lot of discourse.
There is, yeah, which is I think promising. As soon as they get out past the wall and see what's going on, I don't think that their differences are going to mean much anymore.
No,
honestly, I think that they're going to be faced with a much bigger threat that's going to put everything into perspective.
I think so too.
I hope in a perfect world.
But before we dive into that, let's just talk Arya and Littlefinger for a second.
God, I forgot about them.
Because this is a scene, this was what I did not like about this episode.
Yeah.
Basically, Arya and Littlefinger are having a sulk in the corner off while Sansa is actually, you know, leading the North as best she can while fending off those that don't believe in Jon as a leader.
Yep.
She's doing a very good job.
She's doing a great job,
Sansa is keeping her stuff together.
Oh, yeah.
Arya does not like the unrest that is going on in the Lords, though, however, and she calls Sansa out on her on not defending Jon, and basically says that Sansa's real desires are to be the queen in the North and to lead. And to further add cracks in the Stark sibling foundation, Arya is stalking Littlefinger, who is already one step ahead of her.
Right.
She overhears
He's driving
him.
a wedge.
He is. She overhears him receiving it from some passerby and confirming that it's the only one in existence. The it in question is a letter written by Sansa sent to Robb in season 1. And it doesn't read well, but we all know the truth. That Cersei first forced Sansa's hand into telling her that it would actually save Ned Stark's life if she sent that letter. Littlefinger knows that, but Arya doesn't know that. So from Arya's perspective, what does that letter look like? Sansa has totally sided with the Lannisters.
Yes.
And has given up on Teen Stark.
Yeah.
So basically what Littlefinger is doing is removing Arya's, like, people. Slowly, like, basically, Arya has come back to Winterfell, been gone for so long. Jon is not there. Bran is not there. Sansa's the only one she has a connection to, and Littlefinger knows that and sees Arya as the way to get Sansa away from him, right? Like, he wants to keep Sansa near him. Arya is a thing in his way. Right. So he's trying to remove her support system. No,
yeah, that's true. And I'm glad you explained that scene, too, because that was a scene that, again, because this episode was so quick, I think that was very rushed by.
It was. It went by very quickly.
Really, really, really quickly. And, I mean, we do know that the Ravens and the notes there have been important. They're important for other reasons, too, because there is the note, supposedly, that Littlefinger had his wife write.
Lysa Arryn.
Yes.
Lysa Arryn, yeah.
Right.
No,
that kind of started everything off.
Yes.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm just sick of Littlefinger at this point.
Me too. I'm ready for him to get stabbed by Lady Stoneheart.
Yeah. Who might be around, by the way.
So, we recorded last week's episode, like, really late. You were in your car on your way back home. You sent me this theory that there was a Catelyn Stark cameo.
Look-alike or cameo.
Look-alike in the last episode, in the Spoils of War. And I went back and I rewatched it. It's during the scene with Arya and Brienne. Right after Arya says, "You promised my mother," there is a woman that walks through the arch behind Brienne wearing green with auburn hair, walking and look, I'm a Catelyn Stark freak, okay? It looked exactly like her. I don't think that it was Michelle Fairley, the actress that played her, but it was Catelyn Stark.
Yeah, I think it was too.
I don't know why they did that. I don't know how they did that. I don't know if they're planning on having Lady Stoneheart show up at some point.
Oh, man.
Oh my god, I can't even imagine what I would do, to be honest. I have written that off as that just will never happen. I know that they've chosen not to do that. George R. R. Martin even said that they chose not to do that. So if they do that...
But they've lied to us before, and I feel like this show, it needs a little redeeming...
It does. Lady Stoneheart would bring me back completely.
Yes. Same.
If they do it right. They have to do it right.
They have to do it right.
And they're already doing enough undead right now that I'm a little bit worried that it would be too much.
It would be a little much, yeah.
But I still want it.
Oh, for sure. Like, it's a little much, doesn't mean it shouldn't happen.
Yep. No, I agree. Let's discuss what happens at Eastwatch, which was the episode's title. It only got, 7 minutes of time. But basically, Jon, with Jorah, travels to Eastwatch on the sea.
Get there very quickly.
They got there real quick.
Lightning speed.
And Gendry. Oh, Gendry goes too.
Of course,
Can't forget
he
about
rode
Gendry.
them all there.
Gendry did row them, let's be honest.
Yeah,
once you get in a boat with Gendry, it's like having a horsepower motor on it. I mean, he just knows how to row.
It's a speedboat.
It's a speed. So basically, Jon has to fill Tormund in on Tyrion's ridiculous plan, and Tormund is like, what? You want me to what now? And then he basically says, which queen are we trying to convince here? Like, who are we trying to fight for? Which, agreed, fair. You're a wildling, why are you even trying to fight? But then, he gets into it. He's like, okay, all right, fine, I guess I'll kill some White Walkers. Sure. Luckily, though, just those 4 isn't enough.
No.
Because Eastwatch has some prisoners. More specifically, the Brotherhood Without Banners and good old Sandor Clegane are waiting for their plot to finally matter. Like, really. And oh boy, it does.
For real, though.
It does. So, Tormund shows Jon, Gendry, and Jorah downstairs to where Beric Dondarrion, Thoros of Myr, and the Hound, and a few other Brotherhood Without Banners gentlemen are hanging out. And now we have our team up.
We got our little A-team.
Going beyond the wall. Wow. Here's the dream team. I gotta say, I mean, I wish there were some women.
Brienne. I wish Brienne was with them.
I really agree, Tormund. I like really 100% wish Brienne was there.
Oh, yeah.
But I have to say, my favorite part is how none of them really get along.
I love that. I love
they're
that.
All connected.
And like I was saying, I love that they're connected over like this main cause, and I really, really, really hope that it's a metaphor for the rest of the season or the rest of the show, because we saw some of the tension in the group, and like I said before, I think as soon as they get beyond the wall, hopefully in a perfect world, they will see the actual threat and go, okay, like forget about what we had against each other.
It don't matter none.
It doesn't matter at all.
Quick side note, a few people were wondering, and I'm sure you were too, actually, how Thoros and Jorah know each other, because they sort of have a reaction, right? Everybody knows everybody. Like, after someone says Jorah Mormont, Tormund goes, Mormont, your father used to haunt us. You know, everybody. And Sandor Clegane and Jon have seen each other before. But Jorah and Jorah and Thoros, people might not actually know. It's referenced in season 3. But they go all the way back to Robert's Rebellion together. Where they both fought on Robert's side at the Siege of Pike. It was at this battle that Thoros used his trademark flaming sword to be the first through the breach at Pike, and Jorah, in season 3, I think it's episode 5, it was on Reddit, I can't quite remember, but Jorah, in this scene, he discusses with Sir Barristan Selmy, saying that it was an unforgettable thing to bear witness to, watching Thoros charge into, the sea of men with his flaming sword. So I'm really, and now it's Beric that has the flaming sword. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to play through. There's a lot of complicated relationships in this group that's going out there. So the whole group is Jon Snow, Gendry Waters, Jorah Mormont, Tormund Giantsbane, Beric Dondarrion, Thoros of Myr, and Sandor Clegane.
Yes.
That is and then 7 or so Brotherhood Without Banners men.
The red shirts. Not red coats, those are the British.
They are the red shirts of this, though. Jorah is not coming back.
I don't think he is. I mean, he's no.
He'll be the wife that they bring back.
I
know. That's what I'm thinking.
No,
I know.
I think you're right.
Either he or Beric will be the one. That's my 2 cents are...
I think you're right. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think Beric's also going to die. But
I think...
He'll go out a hero, but I think Jorah... Man, Jorah's got to stay away from zombies.
He really does.
He really needs to.
Stay away from that whole idea of something creeping through your body and taking over.
Seriously.
Not good.
No, not great. Not great.
So, instead of a beard rating this week, we decided to do something a little different. Carly, why don't you explain?
We're going to do a body rating. There's not much more reason to it other than
Gendry's back, baby.
Gendry's back. I mean, I was trying to justify it with some other reason. There's really no other reason. It's just because Gendry's back. Gendry's back, and literally because Gendry probably has a very nice back. So,
and we've seen that he has a very nice front.
He has a nice everything.
We just know Joe Dempsey is a very fine specimen.
He is, and I'm gonna be honest. My rating of this episode as a Gendry has nothing to do with how I feel about the episode.
Me neither.
I just am happy.
It's just like it is. Gendry's body.
It's just Gendry's body is all I can see.
Yeah, and that's fine.
I'm alright with that.
Great. Next week's episode is called Death is the Enemy, which is a freaking dumb title. I don't know. There's not really anywhere else to go with that. They really did. They're like, what are we going to do? It's like the same with Eastwatch. It's like, we're running out of episode titles. Just go with what Supernatural did and start naming them after, like, Led Zeppelin songs. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's called Death is the Enemy. It is the penultimate episode of season 7. To me, it sounds like there's going to be a super duper Stark face-off. I think that we're going to get some Arya and Sansa battles, duking it out a little bit. I'm a little worried that one of them is going to get hurt. Yeah. I'm really, really, really hoping that Catelyn Stark shows up and just kills Littlefinger, and it all just and then she dies.
That'd be great.
Like even if it's just a one-time thing where we get her once and then it's done. But basically next week is gonna be Gendry wailing on his Warhammer.
Yes, please.
My question is, will Rhaegal fly in and save Jon just like Drogon did with Dany? I see some fire in the preview, not to mention a very good-looking one-eyed gentleman holding a charcoal pine resinified sword, which is basically, it's a flaming sword. Yes. I'm also hoping maybe we'll get Benjen. I don't know.
I'm really hoping for Benjen.
I'm just give me some stuff.
Benjen needs to be put to rest.
He really does.
He really does.
They didn't give him a good enough story. And I think that with all the way that they've been writing off these characters, he would get a good write-off. I hope that he comes back. I hope that he either saves Jon or Rhaegal saves Jon. It would only be Rhaegal. It couldn't be Viserion.
No.
But I'm apprehensive about the rest of the season. Yeah. Just because of how the timing of this season has gone so far. But I'm really looking forward to it because we're going to watch the next episode together.
Yes.
First time this season that we've done that. And
finally,
I think it's going to be crazy. Death is the enemy. I mean, fair. It is. All intents and purposes, this whole show, that is what it is.
Death is the enemy. I mean, can't say much more. Yeah.
You really can't.
So this episode, we are doing a poll on Twitter. As soon as this episode is out, we want to know who you think, who in that team Beyond the Wall is going to bite it.
Yes, I think our options are going to be Jorah, Beric, Gendry, and Tormund.
Yes.
Just because we sort of talked about it before the episode, those are the people that I think have the biggest target on their backs, I would argue. I don't think Jon's going to die. I don't think Thoros of Mirror the Hound is going to die.
I don't think so.
If we're wrong, and tweet us about it. Who do you think is going to die? It's going to be on our You Got podcast at You Got Pod. On Twitter. But I think that's it for this week's episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in this week. My name is Sophia Matthias. You can find me on Twitter at Commander Tully.
My name is Carly Hill. You can find me on Twitter at Chillin555, which is at CHILLYN 555, and on Medium.com at Hi Yes Hello. Yeah. Thank you again. So much.
Thank you again for putting up with us this week. It's been a little bit of a rough one. But until next time, the night is dark,
but full of Davos.